Hi, my name is Megan Atuvale, and I've been making interactive floor and wall experiences for over 15 years. This week, I'm going to show you how to make an interactive balloon pop experience that I made for myself because I just turned 50. Yay! The way that this experience works is that you wave your hand and the message disappears and the balloons pop. It's super cute. It only took me a few minutes to make it, and I'm excited to show you how to make this too. Keep in mind that every single week I make a video showing you how to make an interactive experience or showing you how to pick out hardware. And LUMOplay, the software that I use, is free to download. You can go to lumoplay.com and download LUMOplay free. It's limited to one per person, but it does give you access to the design tools so that you can see how it looks and works. And if you decide to use this for an event, it's as inexpensive as about 30 bucks a month. So if you want to do something for a kid's birthday party, it's really easy to do this. If you have questions or a project that you want to discuss, you can leave a comment below. It also really helps us if you like and share the videos that we're making so that we can reach a wider audience, because teaching you how to use the software is the main way that we market it. So without any further ado, I'm going to show you how I made the design file for this, and you will be able to download the design file from a link in the description. So if you want to try building this exact same experience yourself, you can. Let's go to my computer and I'll show you how this is made. So I didn't have a lot of time to build this effect, and that is because now that I'm 50, I have grown-up responsibilities, so I couldn't spend a bunch of time drawing a bunch of animals. So what I did was I went to my favorite stock site, 123RF, and I found a bunch of cool things that I really liked. This is a pattern. It's a repeating pattern for animal balloons, but what I like about it is that it's a vector, so that means that I can easily separate the elements. So that's what I did. I downloaded this. And then the next graphic that I looked for was something that gave me the happy birthday overlay that I wanted for the start of the experience. Just going back to this pattern, I also pulled out the little clouds and I used the background color as a reference for the color that I ended up having in the background. So once I had that and I had the happy birthday overlay, which is kind of like the main part of this experience, I wanted to have a big variety in confetti, so I took this image and grabbed a few of the dots. Again, this is a vector, so very easy to pull out the elements that I needed. If you don't have a vector editing program, using just regular photographs is fine too. You can use Affinity or Procreate or any one of those software platforms if you don't like using Adobe, and just make yourself layers. The main thing that you need to know is anything that is a shape, anything that's not just your background image, is going to need to be a PNG on a transparency. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. But I also wanted to get, like I said, more variety in the confetti. So I found two different confetti images that I could pull different styles of confetti out of. And then I found a background that was kind of in the same color palette as the background that was designed for the original balloons. And that's all that I needed to make this effect. I pulled all of that into Photoshop after extracting what I needed from the Illustrator EPS file, and I put it into a working file. One of the most important things to remember when you're at this stage is that when you're designing graphics for a projection, it's really important to know what the resolution of the projector is, because if you don't know that and you design something that is the wrong aspect ratio or the wrong resolution, it's going to look weird when you finally make your app. So I know what the resolution of my wall is. I made a working file that is the exact right resolution, and then I put everything on layers so I could kind of make sure that everything was sized correctly. So the idle image, which is the image that shows up on screen when nobody is interacting, is on the top layer. And then I have all of the balloons separated out onto this layer. And same thing with things like the confetti and the clouds and the background, they're all on their own layers. What I did was I then copied and pasted these into their own documents so that they weren't the full size of the image. and saved them as PNGs with transparency. If you'd like a video about this process, let me know. It's pretty boring, so I'm not going to go through it right now. But yeah, once I had all of that, I have a folder now that has all of my individual confetti elements, all of my individual balloons, and all of the other elements that I need to make this. So let's go over to my LUMOplay design computer, because yes, I have a lot of computers because I might have a problem. But don't judge me, it's to your benefit. Let's go over to my other computer and I will show you how to put this together in LUMOplay. So just in case you're wondering, you don't actually need a whole host of computers and a problem with collecting computers like I have in order to make these experiences. It's just that I prefer to design on a Mac, and LUMOplay is a Windows application. I could get into that too, feel free to ask. Otherwise, just assume that it is less expensive to do an interactive floor or wall with Windows, and that, you know, if you have a Windows computer, you're all set. You don't need to have a whole bunch of computers. So when you're starting LUMOplay, you're going to land on the news page, and it's going to tell you all of the new apps that we have published recently. We're constantly publishing new apps, and also what's popular. And what you're going to do from there is go to Motion Maker and choose the balloon pop template. Click Create, and this will take over your whole screen. If you have two screens, you can design on one screen and have your tools on the other. It's up to you. You can use your mouse to test this as you go, and you can also have your design computer connected to your actual final installation. So if you want to test this by having people throw balls at it or touch it or run across it, you can set up your design computer so that that can be done. Again, important thing, any of your final displays have to match the resolution of the design computer. So if you're designing something on a computer like this one, which has extremely high resolution, you're going to need to change your display settings to make sure that they match the final display that you're going to be using your experience on. It will kind of work, like you're not going to break anything if you do it at different resolutions, but it may not look exactly the same way as it did when you were designing it. So it's good to match those up. I always start by naming my experience. So my first step here is to name this, and I'm going to call it Animal Birthday Balloons. For overlays, I just have my idle image, but this is also where you would do something like a mask if you want to do a irregular shape. If you're projecting on a triangle, for instance, you can add a mask that just masks out the areas that you don't want to project on. You can also add logos and other things in this area, but for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm only adding an idle. By default, the idle comes in as semi-transparent, but I didn't design it to be transparent, so I'm going to make sure that it stays on. I'm also going to change the timeout, because if the timeout is low, then this image comes back immediately when motion stops, but I like there to be a little bit of a delay before it comes back up. So I'm going to turn the idle timeout up a little bit. When I'm done that, I can collapse this overlays section and move on to background. And for background, I'm just replacing the video that's in here with my image so that I have the color that I want. You can have a video, so if you want to upload a video, you can. There will be a link in the description to the full written tutorial for this template, and I encourage you to go take a look at it before you start using the template, because it will also give you details on the file types that are accepted and the type of compression you should use on your video if you decide to use a video background. Sound is basically just on and off in volume. So if I wanted the balloons to pop at a lower volume, I could turn it down here. And if I don't want them to make any sound at all, then I can just turn that right off and they won't make any sound. Now's the fun part. I'm going to delete the default balloons, and then I'm going to go into my folder, and you can see I've organized my folder here so that it's very easy to find what I'm looking for. So whenever you have particles, put them in a folder all together, number them. It'll make it much easier for you to keep track of what you've uploaded and what you haven't. and then name everything according to the section that it goes into, and you'll be golden. So for this, I'm going to go into the balloons folder, grab all of the balloons, click open, and it'll automatically add them into the experience, which is cool because I can start playing with them right away. I can adjust the balloon density and the speed as well. Most of these defaults are based on things that we know after over a decade of working with this type of experience will work really well in most situations. So I usually don't play around too much with the defaults unless I'm building something really weird. But you're welcome to try them, and they all have little reset buttons that you can press if you make a change and you want to revert it back to how it was. I'm moving on to the clouds section next. I'm going to delete the default clouds and import my own clouds, which once again were taken from that vector, so I didn't have to draw them. And these will also come in as semi-transparent. I like the way that that looks, so I'm going to leave it the way that it is. You can change the speed of the clouds, so if you want them to really race across the sky, you can ramp that up, and you can change the direction by just changing the speed, pulling it down to the other side. I'm going to set reset because I really like the more subtle motion that is part of the default. The default of number of clouds is also adjustable, so if you want to add more clouds or less clouds, you can. I've seen people use the clouds feature because the clouds aren't interactive, they just add an element of motion to the background of the effect. I've seen people use it for all kinds of other things, birds, the bokeh lights. There's a lot of flexibility in what you can do with the clouds. The last thing that I'm going to customize is the confetti, because I don't really think that the default confetti works that well here. And I also really prefer to have a lot of variety in my confetti. So you'll see when I open this folder, there's a lot of different types of confetti. I'm just gonna grab them all, click open. You might find that it only downloads a portion of them, and if that's the case, you can go back in and add more. So it's downloaded the first 5 of these. I'm gonna grab the rest of them now and click open again, and it will eventually add. You may get an error because there is a bit of a limit on this. If you do, what will happen is it'll save the effect up until the point that you made it, and you just relaunch LUMOplay and you'll find it in your drafts. We're working on fixing that, but we aren't entirely sure why it's happening. So if it happens to you, please let us know. There is a bug reporting feature built into the software that you can use to let us know when something behaves unexpectedly. And we're generally pretty responsive. We have alerts set up on our phone to let us know when something like that happens, so that we can get online and fix it as quickly as possible. This is an issue that I just noticed today while making this effect, but I wanted to show you what happens when things go wrong so that you don't panic. So if I go into my drafts, it's going to have a saved balloon pop in here. And you can see all of the things that I've done they've been saved. So it's not really gonna cause a lot of problems. It just hasn't saved the particles that I wanted for the confetti. So let's try that one more time. I do wanna make sure that I get all of them. So I'm gonna do 5 at a time. There we go. And now you can see that it's working. All of them are in there. So we should have this bug fixed by the time the video comes out, but I did want to show you that there is a automatic save that happens so you don't have to panic if something goes wrong. I did notice that it didn't save the name of my effect, so I'm going to go back in and make it the right name again. And that's it. Now my entire experience is finished. The confetti does have a couple different features that you can adjust if you want to change how many pieces of confetti come out and how far they go when you pop the balloons. So I've adjusted those a little bit, but that's it. I'm going to click save, and then I'm going to close this. And now it'll save it with the thumbnail, which is how you'll find it once it's published. All you need to do from this stage is click publish, and you'll get a little alert that warns you that once your app is published, you won't be able to edit it anymore. And if you're happy with that, just click yes. If you have Lumo Playground, then there will also be a fee for each of these apps that you publish. If you have Lumo Playmaker, that gives you the ability to make as many of these as you want. And there are quite a few templates to play with, so you can make a lot of really cool custom stuff. So if you're planning to make a lot of content, Playmaker is a much better deal. If you're only making 1 or 2 things a year, then Playground is a better value. I'm not going to click this because I've already made a version of this app. I'll show you where I would find it after it's published. In the apps section, I would put in the name. So I'll just put in the name Animal Birthday Balloons. It found it even without the A, which is pretty fun. So I can download that right now and it will download to this machine and I can play it. And I can also download it to my wall and you'll see it there. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. I had so much fun making it and I'm really enjoying making these weekly tutorials. We're hearing back from a lot of people, which is really cool. I'm hearing about some cool projects that people are doing. We're seeing people make more stuff. And that's exactly why I do this every week. So if you're interested in making interactive experiences, make sure you follow this channel because that's what I'm all about. And even if you're making something and it doesn't involve LUMOplay, if you just have questions about 3D sensors and tracking and projectors and how to do interactive stuff, leave a comment or contact me at info@lumoplay.com. I really want to hear about your project and I love helping you guys, and I'll be back next Tuesday with another tutorial.